And welcome back to Star Wars Fanatic, everybody. The Acolyte has finished. Or has it? And we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But first, if you are new to this channel, go on and hit that subscribe button. It's right there. Little button down to the bottom right. It says subscribe. Go ahead and hit that. It really does help my channel grow. It helps me create more content for you guys and more focused content such as this one about the Acolyte. But with that said, let's move along, shall we? The Acolyte has been contention for many fans. It's also been praised by many fans. Not as loud as the ones that don't like it, and that's okay. You're not supposed to like everything that comes out of Star Wars or any franchise for that matter. But we do have to ask ourselves, where did the budget go? Yeah. A lot of it was okay. Some of it was even good. Some of it was meh. But is it going to continue? Well, the viewership numbers say it should. I'm not saying that everybody thinks it should, but the viewership is what's important to these kind of shows. How many people watched it? Even if they were hate watching it, they were watching it. And that's what Disney looks at, and Lucasfilm, to decide whether or not they are going to continue a series. And with the viewership numbers looking the way they are, it might continue. But if they listen to the loud fans that scream they don't want it anymore, then it may not continue. So it's really up in the air. I know I've read an article that said Leslie Headland had at least a second season written, maybe even a third one. Enough material for it at least. So we'll see how that goes. Until an announcement, we will just say for now it is finished. How about that? Now, I will go on to say that I am going to include the good with the bad in this video. I try to give a fair and balanced approach to reviewing Star Wars products such as this, and this is going to be no different. So where do I start? With the good or with the bad? That's a dilemma. Well, let's start with the bad, shall we? And I don't want to say it's horrible. I just want to pick out a couple things that really didn't jive well with me in this story. The first one is how easily some of the characters flip-flop their positions. May and Osha, you could never tell which side they were really on, and I don't think that was by design. I think it was just poorly executed, to be honest. Like May and Osha, like May started off as bad, then turned good, then turned bad, and with a drop of a hat. And then Osha, she was bad, and then she had a reason to kind of wander to the dark side. Her master had betrayed her, but it was so simple and easy, and that really didn't sit well with me. Another one is some of the cheesy graphics that we got, or the effects that we got, such as the speeders in episode 7, which seemed like they were just placed in there and not much care was given to them in the editing process. Sorry, guys. But then we have that space scene in episode 8 that was really good. I don't understand how the ships weren't torn apart, or how May's ship flip-flopped and didn't get destroyed in the asteroids, but it was still a pretty cool thing. This is science fantasy, not science fiction. Okay, so I said I was going to do the bad, and I threw a good in there, so I'm sorry for that. So another bad would be, well, the glaring obvious one, the acting. Some of the acting was just not there. It wasn't hitting it. And that lady that plays Vernestra, or whatever her name is, yeah, she's got to go. I'm sorry. Every time she's on screen, I'm just like, man, get her out of here. Like, put her on a planet out in the unknown regions or something and forget about her. But they kept putting her in there and kept upsetting some people because her acting really stinks. Now, like I said in the beginning, where did this big budget go? This had a bigger budget than any other Star Wars product, yet it didn't look as good as some of the other Star Wars projects. Now, I'm not comparing this to Game of Thrones for storytelling or anything like that. Game of Thrones and House of Dragon are top-tier adult entertainment, where this is more for teens, tweens, younger people, and old people like myself who just enjoy Star Wars. But those shows, the House of Dragon and Game of Thrones, shows what you can do with a $180 million budget visually. And as far as the actors and their performances and stuff like that. Where this show didn't show me that. It didn't show me what they could do with the $180 million budget. I don't know if they were eating caviar every night or what, but they really didn't spend it in the right places. Some of the set designs were beautiful. Some of the cinematography was great. The music, yeah, not as much. I'm not a fan of the music. And what the hell was that song at the end of episode 7? That wasn't Star Wars at all. I felt like I was watching some love story in space, or I don't know. It just didn't hit the vibe that it was going for. So, those are my bads. Okay, so what does that mean for the goods, since there were a lot of bads? Well, good is, well, one that's insignificant really, is that it's outside of the Skywalker era. It's before it, 100 and something years before the Skywalkers were a thing. And I like that. I think we need more of that. We need to get away from the Empire versus the Rebellion and the First Order versus the Resistance and all that stuff. We need to move away from that for just a little bit, not entirely. Come back to it later when new fans are coming about, or when we're just like, okay, let's see stormtroopers again. So this was good. It got out of that. Another good that I liked, and a lot of people probably don't like this, but I do like seeing the fallible heroes, the ones that make mistakes, the ones that make the wrong judgment call and wind up leaning a little to the darker side because of it, such as Sol, Torben, and Kalnaka, and Indara, and then Vernestra. Yes, as much as I don't like the actress that plays her, I think it's a very good role played by somebody else that shows that there is a little bit of division within the Jedi Order. With Sol, we saw that he thought he was doing the right thing, and he wound up making a split decision to kill the mother. Okay, that was bad, and he regretted it, and it showed that throughout. He regretted it, Torben regretted it, Kalnaka, and probably Indara too, if we'd have seen her character a little bit longer, but they regretted it. But then you got Vernestra, who's covering things up, who's hiding things that Sol did to the Jedi Order, even lying about it to the High Council. And at the end, we got, spoiler alert, got Yoda. Okay, that was a cameo, or would you call it fan service? I don't know. I really didn't expect to see Yoda in this series, even though I know he was around for that time. I was hoping they'd stay away from legacy characters just so we could get this story. But I think it kind of needed Yoda in there. And another great part of this show was, that's it, another spoiler warning, so here it is. The showing of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Yes. As soon as he popped on screen, I was like, it's Darth Plagueis. And I freaked out. And I thought, okay, now, if there is a season 2, maybe we can concentrate on some of that character rather than these other characters who are mostly dead now. But yeah, Vernestra. Okay, so another good point of this show, and most of the good points I'm seeing in it were from episode 6 and from episode 8. And this is from episode 8 of The Acolyte, and that is seeing a kyber crystal bled for the first time in live action. Finally, something we can look at and say that's how they turn red. Now, I know they've been in the comics and the novels and all that stuff of past, and even some of the more recent ones, but this was live action, and we got to see it happen rather than in a drawing or in a description or something. So that was awesome. I liked it. Now, they could have went a little bit farther and turned May's eyes yellow for just a moment, just like they did Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith when he was battling Obi-Wan or whatever. So they could have done that, and it would have enhanced that scene so much. Now, there were some deeper themes in this show and everything, and I'll get into those later in another video, and we'll talk about that as soon as I write it all up, take my notes and all that stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, this series gets about a 6, maybe a 6.5. Yeah. The number one, a 10 out of 10 for me is Andor. And Andor Season 2, I would assume, is going to be just as good. So I'm reserving the best for Andor. And I like Ahsoka, and like parts of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and parts of the Book of Boba Fett and most of the Mandalorian. So I'm not being too judgmental on this show because it is just stories. And if you don't like the stories, you don't have to watch them. You can ignore them and consider them not even canon if you'd like. That's totally fine. That's your opinion. You're allowed to it. Now, will I watch a season 2 of this? Yeah, I'll watch it. Doesn't mean I'm going to love it. I didn't love season 1, but I didn't hate it either. And I'm not calling for anybody's head on a pike because of it. It's just entertainment. That's all it is. So let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the Acolyte, as if it is a season 1 or if it's just a one-off and done. I'd love to hear about it. Maybe they'll just run into novels after that. Now, after this show, I do think it's kind of hurt the High Republic novels because those novels are amazing, the ones I've read. And I've read probably 6 or 7 of them, and they've been really good. Now, they'd probably get an 8 or a 9 out of me, out of 10. And this show, the way people are hating on it, they're not going to go read the High Republic novels because this show wasn't the best Star Wars could produce. Yeah, I know. I'm a positive guy, and I do stay positive about it because it is entertainment, and I don't let it get my undies in a bunch. But like I said, let me know in the comments below what you think, what you thought of the show, if you watched it, if you didn't, whatever your opinion is. I'd love to hear about it. And please just go nice on the people that comment here. We don't have to destroy each other just because of opinions. That's silly. But this is Gerald, a Star Wars fanatic, asking you to please hit that subscribe button, like the video, and till the next time, I'm signing off. Remember, this is the way.